Hey everybody, Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys have had a good start to the week. There's quite a few adjustments going on my end. That's why this video is late. Happy news, second monitor's just come in, so I'm trying to adjust all of that. If you see me look off to my right now, or your left in this case, that's me looking at the second monitor, which is blank. Won't be able to see it in this video configuration, but the live streams will definitely be a lot better. So something to look forward to there. But that being said, we made mention of doing a video yesterday, or a video for tonight, in regards to the tropics. So keeping good on that word, we're going to go ahead and get into that. Make sure you're smashing that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and decimating that share button as well. Help us get a little bit further along here in the channel. That being said, as we can see here, we have 3 different areas of interest, all of which are in different parts of the world here. We have one in the Atlantic here with a medium chance of development. We have another spot over here towards the Eastern Pacific, or actually 2 spots. One with a low chance of development, and then the red spot, which is the main one that we all see, with a high chance of development. This is a storm that I'm somewhat interested in particular, because after it goes through Mexico, Texas could end up being in the line of fire here as we close out the month, and this could cause some very inclement weather across the region here, and maybe even work its way off to the east to close out the month. Still a few questions to be had there, but definitely something worth watching for sure. Of course, we have the Atlantic, which is still active. We still have about a month and some change left in hurricane season. Keep in mind, Atlantic hurricane season technically ends on November 30th, and definitely seems we're winding down and heading in the right direction there. Then we also have this spot over here towards the Western Pacific, which has a very high chance of developing into our next named tropical system. The thing is, though, I don't really know too much about the names here, and I'm not really gonna get into it because there's different regions with different names. It gets kind of messy over here, so it's probably best if I leave that alone, because that's gonna confuse you, probably gonna confuse me too. So that being said, we'll start going forward with the Eastern Pacific storm here, which is what we're looking at right now. So a 90% chance of development for this storm right here. Here's a look at it on satellite. It looks very organized. I wouldn't be surprised by tomorrow morning to possibly see this become a tropical depression, or a potential tropical cyclone here. The next named storm in the Pacific would be Norma. And like I said, there's a pretty good chance of this one becoming just that. And then if we look on the 7-day outlook, we do get a secondary area. And it's interesting now because when we compare this to what was shown on Cyclocane, this has a 70% chance of development over the next 7 days, but a 0% chance over the next 2 days. So we'll have to watch this little secondary area here as well. There's no tracks for it as of yet, so I'm not going to read into that too far. But I've been seeing on the operational model runs, and if you can look back on yesterday's video, if you would definitely be able to see that this does end up trekking through Mexico, heading into Texas towards the southern plains, and eventually maybe even the southeast towards the somewhere between the 23rd and the 25th time frame. Keep in mind that we're still pretty far out as far as the timing. So one thing to make note of here is the simple fact that we're about a week out, so a lot can change with this. But really, this is the biggest threat that we have to land, are these 2 systems here. Like I said, not really a lot to look at with that other one. It's very disorganized at the moment, but we'll be getting into more favorable conditions as time goes on here. So we'll scroll down so we can get a better look at the description here. Area of low pressure hasn't even developed yet, but it will be forming more so later this week. We go towards the Atlantic. We have a oh, this has recently come out. This has now got a 80% chance of developing within the next 7 days, 40% chance of developing in the next 48 hours. This will be likely named Tammy. If this becomes a tropical storm, you need to have winds up to 39 miles an hour for the storm to be named. But this, however, if we look on the model data here already, we can see that this already looks like a fish storm. There's not even a single model run that's bringing this very close to land here. Worst case scenario, if any at all, it looks like we may see the over towards Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago. Maybe we could see some impacts there, but as of right now, there's nothing that's really steering this directly onto land, which is good news. Then after that, we might have to be on the lookout for Bermuda, but right now it's too far out to tell what kind of impacts there would be over towards this region, or just how strong these systems will become. But that being said, here we're looking good as far as land impacts are concerned. So we'll actually start to get a little bit more in depth with this stuff here, and we're going to actually go ahead and look at what our low is looking like right now over the Atlantic to start out with. Like I said, this is likely to become Tammy. This is not a great circle, but this is where our low pressure is. I know it's hard to see with it blended in with these colors here, but we're looking at the sea surface temperatures. And the main thing that I'm trying to kind of bring forth here, the main point I'm trying to drive home here is that the waters are still very warm over this region here. As we see the low begin to come into better view here as it goes over those pink colors, we're still looking at 31 to 32 degrees Celsius sea surface temperatures, which is close to 90 degrees at this point. About 80 is what you would need as like a starting point or a threshold as far as tropical development is concerned. The good news with this being is the fact that this is likely to end up getting caught by the trough that we're seeing over the southeast right now. And what's going to end up happening, and we're going to rewind this back, but what we're going to end up seeing happen as this storm begins to develop here is this is going to end up getting kicked out off to the north here the stronger this one gets. One thing that I do, like I said before, I do find a little bit interesting is towards the northern part of these islands here. We might have to keep an extra close eye on potential impacts here. Mostly thinking it'll be rain. It's still hard to say, too early to tell if there's going to be any direct impacts over towards this region. Over towards Hispaniola, we need to watch this as well, because if this trend changes, you could end up under the gun as well. So this is what we're looking at as far as what's going on in the Atlantic as far as this system is concerned. Our next two systems that we're watching are over here towards the Eastern Pacific, just off the West Mexican coast here. So this is what we're looking at right now, and from what we can see here, lows are kind of hard to see again, I know, and I apologize, but we can see it's a pretty similar deal like what we were seeing out towards the Atlantic. A nice little pocket of temperatures that are going to be more than ideal for tropical development and helping maintain it. The difference between the Atlantic and the Pacific with this setup is the fact that this storm looks like it strengthens a lot more, and then behind that it causes a lot of what we call upwelling. With this upwelling, it brings that cooler water that's down below the surface of the sea here up to the surface, and this kind of helps cut off some of that warm water that we have going on here. So we get those little cold pools going, and as a result, this area becomes a little bit more inaccessible to future tropical systems if they were to develop. Keep in mind, like I said, we have this other tropical low to keep an eye on here as well, and if the track persists here, we could be looking at, again, a western Mexico landfall once more, and depending on how strong this system gets, it could be major. But in time, with the next trough that's expected to come in across the western half of the U.S., this storm is likely to get picked up by it, and then it'll get caught up and end up over towards the southern plains. Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas are the main points of interest there. So that's what we're looking like as far as the temperatures are concerned. Look at the wind shear here. The main thing that I've picked up on really at this point is wind shear is a lot lighter here, but it's pretty much going to be a similar deal. Both areas have incoming troughs that are going to be coming into play here, and as a result here, these storms are going to end up being picked up by them, especially since they'll be mature enough to have cloud tops that are high enough as well, and these will end up being kicked off in the dominant direction in which these troughs are heading. This one's going to end up being pushed more so northeasterly versus the system out in the Atlantic, which will end up being kicked more so to the north. So take a wide view of both of these regions, and still looks like we could have more tropical waves ongoing across the western part of Africa here. But like I said, trough is going to be dominant here, so it's going to basically almost be acting as a blocking pattern here at this point, and it's going to keep any chance of tropical systems making a close approach to the U.S. pretty low. Even towards the Gulf of Mexico, there's such strong wind shear, nothing really will have too much of a chance of developing here. So from this point, U.S. looks pretty safe from tropical systems as of right now. Of course, we're looking pretty far into the future at this point, so there are room for changes, but nonetheless here, I like how things are looking for the U.S. right now. If anything tropical does develop, it's going to mostly end up becoming a remnant low by the time it makes a close approach to land, if anything at all. Towards the Pacific, like I said, a lot of the winds are steering these storms more so into western Mexico. So tough news for you guys, and I apologize that it's like that for you, to anyone that's watching in Mexico. But only thing I can really tell you is to just keep on guard here. Don't be scared and be prepared here. But for the most part here, like I said, at least expect maybe one, maybe two more tropical systems after that, and we'll see what the future holds after that. Wind shear is still pretty light here based off of this pattern, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more storms. Another fun fact here is that Eastern Pacific season does end around the same time as Atlantic, so November 30th, and usually that's when we will see a slowdown. Doesn't always happen that way, but it seems like this year we could be trending towards that, towards our regular ending time, so to speak. Last but not least, we'll go ahead and take a look at the sea surface temperatures across the entire world here. Hotspots, of course, over towards the areas we just mentioned, over towards the Atlantic, the Pacific, and also the Western Pacific in particular is really hot, especially over towards Vietnam, Laos, and other regions over here towards the Western Pacific, really hot. And then also towards the Indian Ocean looks pretty gnarly. Mediterranean could even be Mediterranean actually looks cold. But yeah, over towards the Indian Ocean we're looking pretty hot, so we have to watch this region as well for any potential typhoons. So that being said here, this is pretty much all we got for this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Smash that like button, decimate that subscribe button, and obliterate that share button. We're on the road to 600 and really on the road to 1,000. Appreciate everyone who's been here from the beginning or just joining. I want to say thank you to all of you guys. Couldn't do it without you. But till the next video, which will probably be tomorrow afternoon, it's been Metalhead Weatherman. You guys take care. Have a good night.